As Washington sharpens its economic sword, Donald Trump's latest campaign promises have sent global markets into a frenzy. His proposal to impose tariffs as high as 60% on Chinese imports isn't just a fiery campaign statement, it's a potential tsunami poised to upend global trade. For context, this level of escalation would dwarf previous trade spats, potentially reshaping the very fabric of global commerce. But if Washington is wielding a sword, Beijing is playing chess. In a strategic countermeasure, China has unveiled export controls so sophisticated they could be mistaken for a masterstroke in economic warfare. These restrictions aren't about short-term retaliation. They're a calculated move designed to exploit global dependencies on Chinese-controlled resources. At the heart of China's strategy lie materials that sound more like science fiction than reality: gallium, germanium, and antimony. While these names might not mean much to the average person, their importance to modern technology cannot be overstated. From semiconductors and 5G infrastructure to advanced radar systems and military hardware, these rare earth metals are the lifeblood of innovation. And China isn't just a player in this market, it's the kingpin. With control over 98% of global gallium production and 60% of germanium output, Beijing holds the cards, and it's playing them to perfection. The immediate impact was nothing short of seismic. Tech companies from Silicon Valley to Stuttgart scrambled to untangle their supply chains, trying to trace every component to its origin. This sudden reckoning revealed just how deeply the world depends on China's resources. For manufacturers, it's a logistical nightmare akin to baking a cake while reverse engineering its recipe. Take the semiconductor industry for example. Gallium arsenide, a critical material for high-performance chips, is now as elusive as water in the Sahara. Telecom companies, reliant on these semiconductors for 5G infrastructure, are finding their options alarmingly limited. Meanwhile, aerospace and defense contractors face an existential crisis. Gallium is indispensable for radar systems and night vision technology, leaving military strategists grappling with a supply chain vulnerability that feels more like a strategic liability. To make matters worse, China's enforcement mechanisms are as meticulous as they are aggressive. Companies must now provide exhaustive documentation proving their materials are China-free, a process so complex it makes tax audits look like a walk in the park. For businesses already stretched thin by rising costs and supply chain disruptions, these new compliance requirements are the proverbial straw breaking the camel's back. And the penalties for non-compliance? Severe enough to make even the boldest multinationals tread carefully. As the US and China lock horns, Russia has emerged as Beijing's strategic partner in an increasingly polarized world. This isn't just a partnership of convenience, it's a calculated alliance designed to rewrite the rules of global trade. Together, these two nations are constructing an alternative economic ecosystem, one that seeks to bypass Western influence entirely. A cornerstone of this alliance is the power of Siberia Pipeline, which pumps Russian natural gas directly to Chinese factories. This monumental infrastructure not only fuels China's industrial machine, but also signifies a deepening interdependence between the two nations. Yet, the collaboration doesn't stop at energy. China and Russia are also investing heavily in new trade routes, such as the Northern Sea Route. Once considered a niche shipping lane, this Arctic pathway is becoming a viable alternative to traditional routes, symbolizing the shifting tides of global commerce. On the technological front, Russia's contributions are invaluable. While it may not rival Silicon Valley in consumer tech, Russia excels in fields like aerospace, cybersecurity, and advanced materials. These strengths complement China's ambitions perfectly, enabling joint ventures in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and other cutting-edge fields. What was once an alliance of political convenience is now a full-fledged economic partnership with the potential to challenge the West. One of the most significant implications of the Russia-China partnership is its impact on global finance. By trading in their own currencies and developing alternative payment systems, these nations are gradually chipping away at the dollar's dominance. This isn't just about evading Western sanctions, it's about creating a parallel financial system where the dollar plays a secondary role. For the US, this shift is more than an economic nuisance, it's a strategic challenge. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency underpins America's economic power. As Russia and China promote alternatives, the traditional structure of global finance begins to wobble. While the dollar remains dominant for now, cracks in its foundation are becoming harder to ignore. To understand how we got here, we need to rewind to 2018, when Donald Trump launched his trade war against China. At the time, The initial $34 billion in tariffs seemed bold but manageable. However, what began as a targeted effort to address intellectual property theft and unfair trade practices quickly snowballed. By 2019, the US had imposed tariffs on $550 billion worth of Chinese goods, while China retaliated with counter-tariffs worth $185 billion. American farmers were among the hardest hit. Once a major supplier of soybeans to China, they saw their market vanish almost overnight. The US government's $28 billion aid package provided temporary relief, but it couldn't undo the damage. For many, the trade war felt less like a strategic maneuver and more like a painful stalemate. The Phase 1 trade deal of January 2020 was supposed to mark a turning point. China committed to purchasing an additional $200 billion in US goods, but the COVID-19 pandemic derailed those plans. Global supply chains, already strained by tariffs, buckled under the weight of unprecedented disruptions. For businesses, the past few years have been a perfect storm of challenges, forcing them to rethink everything from sourcing strategies to inventory management. Fast forward to 2024, and the stakes have never been higher. China's export controls are reshaping global trade, forcing industries to diversify their supply chains at breakneck speed. Trump's proposed tariffs could escalate tensions even further, pushing businesses and nations into uncharted territory. And the Russia-China alliance continues to gain momentum, presenting a formidable challenge to the existing world order. For businesses, the road ahead is fraught with challenges. Diversifying supply chains is easier said than done, especially when alternatives are scarce and costs are rising. Compliance with new regulations requires significant investment, turning already thin profit margins into vanishing points. And yet, adaptation is not optional. In this new era of economic brinkmanship, flexibility and resilience are the keys to survival. For nations, the challenges are equally daunting. The era of straightforward trade relationships has given way to a labyrinth of restrictions, counter-restrictions, and strategic alliances. The World Trade Organization, already criticized for its inefficiency, is struggling to address disputes that go far beyond its original mandate. Trade rules, once seen as sacrosanct, are now treated as mere guidelines. The ultimate irony is that these measures designed to strengthen individual nations may accelerate the very changes they seek to prevent. As businesses and countries scramble to reduce dependencies, the global economy is becoming more fragmented. Supply chains are diversifying but at the cost of efficiency. Trade routes are multiplying but at the expense of cohesion. The result is a world that is simultaneously more resilient and more divided. In the end, this isn't just a trade war, it's a transformation. The question isn't whether the global economy will change, but how. Will we see a world of balanced interdependence, or one defined by rival economic blocs? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, in this new era of economic competition, standing still is not an option. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this content insightful or inspiring, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to stay updated with our latest releases. Your engagement means the world to us. And hey, why stop here? Check out another video from our channel, just a click away on your screen.